What's up, everybody? It was Flashback Central for Daredevil Born Again this week, and it built up to a finish that left me speechless. All I ask from you guys before I get into today's video is that you subscribe to the channel. It's a huge help, so thank you. Now let's dive in. We got back into Hell's Kitchen with a dream shot of Wilson and Vanessa walking on the beach. I assumed it's on their island, just given the fact it's been brought up a couple of times in this season. And I want to dive into these dreams more, but I want to get to the Fisk flashbacks first. I think they're very much tied together in the story of this episode, so stick with me. But here, it's a little ridiculous to me that the nurse holds back a furious Kingpin, especially one that's completely out of the cage now after the fight and after what Bullseye did. And I felt that because, he's not screaming at Powell. He's got that sinister calmness to him that we've seen so often, and that's when you know he's cooking. And as I said last week, Matt simply won't leave Dex behind to bleed out or get got by the AVTF. He doesn't have it in him. Well, maybe a better way to say it would be, he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he did. It doesn't matter what Dex has done, what he did to Foggy, what trauma he's caused Karen, the hell he's brought to Matt's life. This lined up so well with the Matt and Foggy flashback, how Matt's grown in the impression his best friend and partner-in-law left on him. Foggy might be gone, but he's still guiding Matt and Daredevil every step of the way. With that being said, I couldn't make this video without mentioning that on-screen Gandolfini stress. Michael got his old man's talents there. There's no doubt about it, and you really saw it come out as Daniel's working overtime during the crisis. BB pays him a visit, playing her reporter games, and she shows off why she's as good as she is, being fast on her feet when he doesn't react like he usually would. When she realizes, how deep his love for Fisk runs, but there's no doubt about it after this week that he knows what she's up to with the fake Mayor Kingpin bit, and I think BB's magic actually worked here, making him realize, or at least, rejuvenating the thought that she means more to him than Mr. and Mrs. Mayor. But getting back to the mortal enemies, Matt might be keeping Dex alive out of the goodness of his heart. However, that does not mean that he likes him or that he's going to put up with his bullshit. This is actually where Eldon Henson made his return as Foggy too. I got ahead of myself a little bit, but whatever. The avocados at law, they're still working for Landman and Zach in these scenes. All of them, except for the final flashback at the art gallery, were set before season 1 of the Netflix show, and that firm was, of course, working for Fisk back then. On top of that, we got another Netflix OG making his return this week. Toby Leonard Moore came back as Wesley for a couple of scenes with Vincent D'Onofrio, and it was exactly like the good old days. But Wesley said something, and you're going to want to put me in a straitjacket for saying this one, but I gotta say it. He says the name of Foggy Femboy's friend, not Leonard McCoy or whatever first name Foggy called him, Ray, whatever it was, but the Lion. I heard that after hearing McCoy the entire episode and was just immediately convinced that it was a reference to Hank McCoy, the X-Man Beast. They're not related or anything, I don't think at least. They did dance around, the names of Hank's family that we know of from the books, and they're from Illinois anyway in the books. It's just a weird coincidence to me that McCoy is a lion in his nickname on the streets. I'd still say it's a nod to him. Then even though it seemed as if BB was there comforting Daniel at the hospital, obviously to a certain extent, it's like I said, she was trying to save herself after it didn't go how she thought it would. She puts out Vanessa's condition and location basically as soon as she got back and wrote the story. Lucky for Daniel, Buck comes in for the save after a reporter found his way into the hospital. This duo, they've been on the rise. They're one of the best parts of season 2, and I hope we get this sort of volume of their scenes together moving forward. Dario Scardapane's been on a roll with them. Same with the two actors. You can tell that Michael and Artie have a great dynamic, and I'll say it again, I really hope they survive the Fisk ship sinking. But that scene brought us into another flashback. In this one, we saw Vanessa going rogue at the gallery. Her boss didn't want the rabbit in a snowstorm on display, but she put it up anyway, and the rest is history. But now, I want to get into what I saw in the beach dreams versus the flashbacks. In my opinion, the flashbacks are what's fading from Vanessa's memory as her injury progresses, and the beach dreams were Mayor Boss Baby's dreams of their future after they left the hospital. But let me know what you guys thought about the connection between the Fisk scenes. That's just how I saw things. Then they added onto the story as season 1 from the Netflix show some more, while continuing to let Buck be more like his comic counterpart, this time around in Born Again. It turns out that he was an old friend of Wesley's, and he's been working for Fisk since before the Netflix show started. He was a man, taking out all those people that we were told took their own lives in that season season. He was even dressed like Bullet here, going after McCoy. This was definitely intentional, and I think they made some damn fine additions to the old story and this one with the wave of flashbacks. Essentially, Ray or Lionel, call him whatever you want to, was Foggy's bullseye. Now, do they have the same layers to their beef that Matt and Dex do? No, but as the great Dave Skylark once said, same, but different, but still same. Both Ray and Dex do everything they can to have their respective avocados abandon them, and both lawyers found a way to help. Even after Matt thought about leaving, Foggy stops him in his tracks and turns him around to save Poindexter. The devil brought his mortal enemy back to the Punisher's hideout that he and Karen have been using, and I gotta be honest with you guys, I wanted a little more here. I know Matt's no stranger to going missing, a day's nothing for him, so I'm not talking about that part, and I get what they're going for with the silent acknowledgement as Karen processes her boy toy walking in with the only man who gives Fisk a run for his money and tormenting the two. All I wanted was a few lines of dialogue. I guess I just imagined that this was going to be an explosive moment. Anyways, Buck and Daniel drove out into the woods, and with Gandolfini around, I'm always thinking about The Sopranos. This brought me back to one of the best episodes from that show. Paulie and Christopher freezing their asses off in the woods, and Paulie with no shoes on, and then that brought me to Christopher's intervention. God, that show's great, but so is this one, as we saw the two bury one of the crew members from the Northern Star vessel. To me, once we got past whether or not this was going to be Daniel's burial, it still felt like a final test, and it's simple. Will he tell BB about this nature walk, or is he actually going to be loyal to Fisk and, deserve to have his life changed by Fisk, and maybe even tell Buck about what's going on with the Mayor Kingpin? It feels like he definitely knows that's BB. We shall see. This week's episode came to a close in the hospital, and it was a fucking roller coaster. I was convinced that Vanessa was already gone last week, so I was sitting here like, how and or why is she still alive? But then she wakes up and you see why, because she's no longer the woman, the bad bitch who built this empire with Kingpin, and she certainly doesn't have the fierce edge that kept the empire afloat in his absence. Then just as you're digesting that idea, she's gone for good. The surgeon failed, and the city has no idea what's to come, and thank God it's fiction, because I can't wait to see it. I think the best way I can put my feelings about this episode as a whole is that if you described it to me a year ago, a couple of months ago, no matter how well you described it, I would have been worried it would mess with the flow of the show, especially if you included how we got here at the end of episode 4, but it did the opposite, and it's one of those things that you got to see to understand why the creators put it where it is. Shout out the entire team, the cast, and especially Charlie and Vincent for fighting behind the camera and on camera to get Born Again on track for the fans. This was a masterclass in nerdy TV. And so that's going to do it for my breakdown of episode 5 from Born Again season 2. As always, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode, so let me know down in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video, smash that like button on your way out, and make sure you have a great day.